Welcome to our webinar. Today, we're going to speak about how to see your entire business in 5 minutes a day. We're going to start with the agenda just to make sure everyone is on the same page and you know what to expect. I'm going to start with a quick intro, and then we're going to talk about what prep is needed to actually see your business within 5 minutes a day. Then we're going to talk about 3 different ways to do this, and then I'm going to open the floor for any questions. So that is the agenda. And let's jump in. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tara. I am the founder of a company called Simpleday. We focus on helping other companies use Monday.com. I personally have been using Monday since 2015. About 4 years ago, I decided to open up Simpleday simply because I wanted to play with Monday all day long. And I found it unbelievably interesting to meet all these different clients and different companies and help them figure out how to use Monday. We do a lot of custom implementations, trainings, custom setups, and integrations to other tools. So that's a little bit about us and Simpleday. And now let's jump in. So today we're going to talk about how you can see your business in 5 minutes a day. Just a little bit of background. I'm a business owner, obviously. Like I just said, I own my company Simpleday. And I found, I think most business owners have expressed to me, and I know from my experience, and I probably hear this on 95% of the calls that I have with companies, is that either a manager or, being in a leadership position, you don't necessarily need to know every single detail of what's going on in your business, but you want to get that high level overview. And especially in today's world where there's a million tools that every company is using, it's really hard to be able to get that 5-minute overview. I can tell you some of my key metrics that I want to look at. Every day I want to know, okay, what's our revenue for this month? How are we trending on our leads? How many new clients did we sign this month? How much money is in the bank? What are our expenses on the month? Some basic business questions, but they're things that I need in order to understand where the business is holding. Maybe something's not doing well. We really need to look into it. Or something is doing really well. We want to understand why. But as a business owner, I don't need to know every single task that every single person is working on my team. I need high level overview. And this is where, I felt one of the hardest parts as a business owner was having the ability to see this. I'll give you another example. I have people on my team that help me with social media. I don't need to see the metrics of every single video that we put up on YouTube, or I don't need to see open rates of every single email, but I want a general sense, how many people are on our newsletter? How many subscribers do we have on YouTube? Again, high level. And this is something that as a business owner for me has been really difficult because we're using a million different tools. And as I talk to more and more businesses, it's something that almost every single business, their manager, owner, or someone in leadership has complained about or mentioned that they just want to see this high level overview. So that's the goal here, to show you 3 different ways that you can see your business within 5 minutes. So before we actually get into the 3 different ways, you have to set yourself up in order to be able to build out any of these 3 ways. If you don't have this basis, you can't actually move forward. I think it's a really, really critical step. In order to be able to move forward and see your business in 5 minutes, you need to complete this step. No matter which direction you decide to have your 5-minute report or your daily report, you need this for every single thing. It doesn't matter which direction. And I've actually been a little overwhelmed with everything going on with AI in this world now and all the tools coming out there that I'm like, oh, I could do this in this tool and that's great. And okay, now let me go to this tool and then let me go to this tool. And there's so many different ways that you can do this. And I've tried probably a lot of them because this is something that was such a pain point for me. But no matter what tool you're going to, without the prep, without the first stage, you can't actually move forward with this. So first I want to just start with the prep, and then we're going to go into the 3 different ways that you can do this. So the first thing that you need to take into account is something called context. That word has been thrown around a lot, context, especially with AI, because, everyone says you need to give AI context. But in the world that we're talking about right now, whatever direction you go in terms of how you're getting this, seeing your business in five minutes, whatever tool you're using needs to understand who you are. What's your business? What do you do? What matters? It needs context. Any tool cannot work properly if it doesn't have context to understand who you are. The second piece of this is you need to understand what are all of your tools, okay? There are tons of different tools that people are using every single day to run your business, but you should have a list. I have a list on a Monday board, all of the tools that we're using within our business and what their function is. It may be helpful to go through this list because then you may find like, oh, I don't even need all of these tools. It's really important to understand these tools because that's where the data is going to come from, right? Like, let's just take a really easy example. If you're using a financial tool, let's say you're using QuickBooks. So like, it's really important to know, okay, we can get this information from QuickBooks, or we're using Monday. Monday's our CRM. We can get sales data from Monday. It doesn't really matter what tool you're using, but you need to understand what your tools are that you're using to run your business. And then the last thing that you need to think about is capabilities. Like, what should actually happen and what do you want to see? It's not enough to say, okay, I want to see a 5-minute report of everything going on in my business. I need a lot more details than that. In order for this to work, you need a lot more details. Like, what does that mean? I want to see my business in 5 days. If you're in construction, we've worked with a lot of construction companies and, they want to see how many jobs are open, how many jobs are delayed, how many jobs are on track. But they also want to see financials. They want to see what's going on in their day. Then if you switch over to a real estate agent, they want to see something different, but it's still understanding where their clients are, who their clients are, what deals they're working on, whatever it is, but you need to understand what you want to see. And these are the 3 critical things that you need to do in order to be able to see your business in 5 minutes. So we're going to dive a little more deeply into these different categories. And this is something that I highly encourage you to do this on your own. You could take this screenshot if you want. It's just a way that I divided everything up, what it made sense to me. You can divide it up in a different way. But this is the mapping your tools. I'll just go back to the last screen. We're talking about tools right now because we're going to get to the context a little bit later in terms of how to do that. So we're going to jump to the tools right now. You basically need to put together, like, what are your tools? And just to go through this, and this is just to give you a framework of how to manage and think about your tools. So I divided it into 7 different categories. So the first is revenue. Like, where's revenue coming from? Where are you looking for information about revenue? Most cases that would be like a Stripe, a QuickBooks, a proposal software, credit card processing. The next thing to think about is your customer. Like, where are your customers? And this could be, a CRM that we're talking about, or it can be maybe you have a community or you have a website, but wherever you're managing your customers, that's a tool that you're using. Then we need to look at your calendar, because to get 5 minutes understanding your business, like, you need to understand your calendar, whatever calendar tools are. The next is communication. So obviously, things like email is something where you have communications, but then, companies use Teams or they use Slack or WhatsApp or something else. Then we need to look at task management. So where are you managing your tasks? Like, every single company needs to be managing their tasks somewhere, even if you're using an Excel, which I definitely don't recommend it, but you need to be managing your tasks somewhere. So where are you managing your tasks? Where are you managing your projects? Again, it doesn't matter what kind of company you are, everyone has tasks. Then the next thing is meeting, which gives like a little more context, like where you have your meetings. Most of them are probably on Zoom or Google Meet or Teams, and you can record them. And the last tool is knowledge. That is not the last category, is knowledge. What I would put into knowledge is more like things about me. It's a little bit about the context, but like, what tool has knowledge about me? So for me specifically, I have a YouTube channel where I talk a lot about Monday. So that's like knowledge about me that I would want whatever tool I'm using to understand about me. Okay. So this is like a framework that you can use to just kind of map your tools. And on the next screen, I'm just going to show you, these are some of the answers as I was doing this exercise. So these are some of the answers that I have. My revenue is Stripe and Anchor, which does my proposals. My customers, on YouTube, Anchor was a mistake. I'm sorry about that. Calendar, I use Google Workspace. My communication, I use Monday, Google Workspace and Slack. Tasks, I mostly use Monday. For certain things, I've used Notion. Meetings are all recording on Fathom. And some knowledge is in YouTube, in my Google Workspace, and in the local files on my computer. But this is basically like, if I would look at my whole business, this is where everything is. So this was just like a really easy way to categorize everything. So context, I said we're going to get to, but essentially what context is, it's a document like of what's going on in your business, but we'll get to that. Tools we just spoke about. And now let's talk about capabilities. Like, what do you actually want to see? Now, this is a really important question that you need to sit down. You can write it on a piece of paper, but you need to write the questions for every category. And you may not have something in every category, but what do you want to see? These are just some examples. Revenue. How much came in yesterday? How much is owed? How much is our revenue on the month? How much is our revenue on the quarter? Customers. How many new leads do we have? Are there any churn signals? Obviously, everyone here has a different company and they're in a different vertical, but some form of customers, like what information is important to you? A calendar. What do you want to see today? What are you doing today? What do you need to prepare for? What do you need to block off time? And then tasks and projects. Like think about what's mine, what's most important, where's a blocker, what's late, what's not. Again, you need to apply these questions to your company. But what I want you to do is I want you to organize the context, which we're going to get to. I'm going to show you how to do that. Organize your tools, which I just showed you how to do it. And number 3, decide on what you want to see. What things are important for you? Like I started this by saying, like, for me personally, I want to see how many leads did I get this month? How many leads did I get this month compared to last month? Am I on track for what I did last month? How many leads did I get this month in comparison to what I did last year, the exact same time? What's my revenue? What's my expenses? What's my annual revenue so far? Where am I in relations to my goals of my annual revenue? What tasks seem really urgent and are waiting for me? Or what's on my schedule? These are some of the questions that I personally want to see on a daily basis. But everyone has different questions. But if you don't know the question, and I know it sounds so basic, but if you don't know the question, then you can't get that report. If you don't know what you want to see, you can't get that report. Now, all of this information has to have data somewhere. Like the systems need to be set up in order to create this report, right? Like you can't have no system and everything in your head and expect to build a report. So the building blocks are what you need to start with in order to move forward and build this report. We're going to talk about 3 different ways that you can set up different ways to see your business within 5 minutes every day. So before you start your day, you know everything going on. The first way that we're going to talk about is actually just using Monday. I'm assuming everyone here is heavy Monday users like I am. And Monday is a great platform that integrates with a lot of different tools. So essentially what you can do is you can connect all of your tools to Monday, have Monday be your center of all of this data. Then on top of that, you can create dashboards, and then you can either check it daily or you can have an email go out for you, reminding you to check your dashboards, or you can have an embed link and put them up somewhere. Like I literally, before I built out the other systems that I'm going to talk about, in my email, I would get an email every day that says like check dashboards or I don't remember, it said key metrics to check. And it had like a little fire icon because I had to make sure to do it. And I just had a list of 6 dashboards within Monday, and I literally would click on all of them. I would open them up in order to see what I needed to see about going on in my business. So let's jump into Monday, and I'm going to show you a setup where you can do this. So what we have here in Monday is we set up this thing called a scoreboard. It's a different workspace that's set up. And here I'm only showing you the marketing piece. This is actually when I first started this journey or this concept of getting everything in my business in one location. I started with this concept of scoreboards. So this is just the beginning of that. This is the marketing piece. So I'll just show you an example of how you would set this up. So here you can see, for example, I have a MailChimp board, and this is pretty old. We don't use this anymore, but you can see that I have a MailChimp board that pulls in all of my stats from MailChimp. So you can see like all of the information, and it would run every day for a certain amount of time after we sent out a newsletter, and I would have all the stats here. Now, once I had all the stats here, then I can build dashboards based on it. So here you can see like here I have MailChimp in this part. That's how many newsletter subscribers I have, right? So all of this data is being sent into Monday. And then I'm using Monday's native features. Here's another example that we did YouTube analytics. Basically, we wanted to see like how many views after 24 hours, 3 days, 7 days, 30 days. Like these, again, different metrics that I decided were important for me. And we brought them into Monday. Here's something else about Google Search Console. Again, these are all old and not updated. This is actually not even our business, but this is just showing you how you can put everything into Monday and then you can create a dashboard. Here's a dashboard of everything I want to see about my marketing campaigns. Here's a specific YouTube dashboard. How many subscribers, new subscribers this month? What's our goal? How many videos per month? Average views after 24 hours, whatever, all these different metrics. Same with Search Console. But what we did to set this up is we connected Monday to other tools. Now, there's a number of different ways that you could do that. Some of these are direct integrations with Monday. If you go to the integration center, Monday has direct integrations and you can simply connect Monday to any of these tools and you can pull in the metrics. Some of them, you need a third-party tool. I personally like using Make. We use make.com a lot of times for our clients. Some workflows are also Zapier or N8N. And essentially what these are their third-party tools that connects one tool to another tool. So if I go back and look at this, let's say YouTube Analytics, so you can see like here it's pulling in the name of all of my videos. It's directly pulling that data from YouTube. Now, this is set up through a N8N scenario. It's like the same like Make, and it basically just sends the information to Monday. So you're setting up these scenarios and you send the information to Monday. Then if you want to automate it, you can send yourself an email or you could just have links or you can embed it, but you essentially have this information. And this is the first way that you can get a report on a daily basis about everything that's going on in your business. Obviously, you need to build everything out. Like you would have a leads board and you would have a revenue board and whatever other boards you would have within Monday, you simply would build it out so you have your dashboards and then you can check it. Before we move on to number 2, are there any questions? Oh, awesome. Thank you, Brian. The question is, you use N8N and Make for all the same client. How do you see and keep track of what's going on overall? So I'm assuming you're asking, Brian, N8N and Make like for my clients that I'm working with. So if that's the question, each of my clients has their own Make or N8N account that they give us access to. Like we don't have one Simpleday Make account that we then share, like all of our clients are on. Every client has their own account. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's your question. If I'm wrong, correct me. And then how do you keep track of what's going on overall? Again, I'm not sure if you're asking that about N8N or Make. If you're asking that about N8N or Make, then each client has their own account. And if we need to work on someone's account, then we simply go to their Make account. Now we are going to jump in, and this is something relatively new that I'm really excited to share. I see one more question. So build a scorecard style board for each external tool and then create a dashboard to aggregate info into one spot. Yes, it could be though that it needs to be on multiple boards, but essentially you're just pulling everything into Monday. Monday's the source of all your data. Exactly. Now, let's jump in and we are going to talk about something called an AIOS. Has anyone ever heard the term AIOS? I'd love to see a show of hands if anyone knows what I'm talking about. Maybe thumbs up, thumbs down. Anyone? Thumbs down. Okay, I see a some up, some down. Okay, awesome. I see more thumbs down than thumbs up. So for those of you that did do a thumbs up, bear with us. What an AIOS is it's an AI operating system. That's all that it is. It's actually relatively simple. An AIOS means that you're using an AI tool. In this case, I'm going to be using Claude to manage everything on my computer. It's essentially an operating system on my computer. It's not as complicated as it sounds. And it basically has access to files on your computer, and then you can do a lot more with it. So if you look at this diagram that I made here, basically you can see like here I have Claude as my AIOS. I set it up as my operating system. I personally am using Claude Cowork. Just to tell you the difference, there's different parts of Claude. If you're a developer, most people use Claude Code. I am not a developer. I do not know any code. I use Claude Cowork, which is like the non-code option. But essentially, I'm using Claude on my computer, something called Claude Cowork. It connects to all my files on my computer, and it also connects to other different tools that we're going to get to. So this is just showing you that it basically connects to different tools. I'm going to go deep dive into this in next. And it shows you different automations and then scheduled tasks. This is just technically how it gets done, but just to explain the concept, because it's a really important concept. I'm essentially using Claude as my operating system on my computer. That's it. That's what I'm doing. Then that's like the most basic. Then let's go back to our layers. Then I give Claude context. I want you to understand who I am. Then on top of that, I connect Claude to my tools. Then on top of that, I tell Claude what I want it to do. It's the same 3 steps that we discussed in the beginning: context, tools, and capabilities that we're going to do within this Claude AIOS. So I'm going to just talk about how to actually do this. If you want to do it, you could follow these steps. Honestly, I also just watched some videos on YouTube. It was relatively simple, but I will walk you through it. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to add Claude to your desktop. I just want to make it clear, you don't have to do this step in order to get the report at the end of the day. I personally set up an AIOS because I wanted to learn about it. I wanted to see what it could do for me. And I just thought it was really cool. So let me learn it. You can also do a lot of these things just with Claude or just with ChatGPT. You don't have to install it as an operating system. So if you want to skip this first part, you can. But if you are, the first step is that you're going to set up Claude on your desktop. Okay. Then you need to give it access to folders within your account. So here you can see this is on my computer, and you can see that I have a folder that I named Claude, and I have different folders in it. Okay, different files in it and different folders. This is more about the structure, about how you set it up so Claude can find everything. I don't want to go into the exact structure because there's a lot of different options and different ways you can set this up. But essentially what I have is I have 4 main folders. References is just information. It's simply information about my company that Claude needs. So for example, I have brand guidelines in there. I have all different information. The sales playbook is something that an AI agent needs, and I'll get into that soon. Schedule tasks are things that are actually scheduled that Claude does for me. And skills, Claude has something called skills, where it's actually something that Claude does for you. It has a skill, you teach it how to do something. So I've set this up on my computer. And so the first thing that you need to do is you need to create these folders. And you can use Claude to create these folders, the structure, and all the files for you. I literally, on step number 3, give Claude context. I sat down with Claude. Hey, Claude, let me tell you about my business. Let me tell you what I'm doing. Here's my branding document. This is how I write my emails. These are the people on my team. I think we have a master prompt internally that has 35 pages that we built a long time ago. I literally uploaded it to Claude, and I had Claude write all of these documents for me. I just said, Claude, let's write a document about this. Let's write a document about how we work. You can use Claude to create all of these documents for you. But the first step is to create all these documents, okay? That's giving it context. Then the second thing, we need to have Claude connect to all of our tools. In a minute, I'm going to go into Claude and show you how I did this. In today's world, there's a lot of different ways that you can connect your different tools to an AI program. One thing is something called MCPs. An MCP, it means module context protocol, I think. Essentially, in not fancy terms, what it means is I can connect one thing to something else. So I can connect Monday to Claude, and I'm using an MCP to connect them. Claude has tons of different connectors, and you simply can connect all your tools. So Claude then knows more about your business. So for example, I use Fathom to record all of my calls. Claude is connected to Fathom. I can say to Claude, hey, I just had a call with Dawn. Go fetch the call for me, and it will find the call for me. And then I could say, now go write a follow-up email. Now write a proposal. All of my tools are connected with Claude. And again, we're going to jump in and I'm going to show you how to do all of this. Once all your tools are connected, then you need to write a skill. A skill is essentially a reusable workflow. I can tell Claude, I'm trying to think one of my skills. So one of my skills is a content creator. Okay. So what I set Claude up to do is to scan all of my calls throughout the entire week and then see if there's any good ideas that I can either use for YouTube longs, YouTube shorts, YouTube posts, or LinkedIn posts. So basically scans all of my calls and then comes up with ideas based on criteria that I gave it. And it pushes it to my Monday board. So every Sunday morning, I have an entire list. Here's 5 new social media ideas that you can use for marketing. But I taught Claude that skill. You have to think of Claude or like, this specific thing. Like I'm teaching you, you're someone on my team. I need to teach you how to write content for me. This is what I want. Then you have something called scheduled tasks. I'm going to show you this in a minute. And then the best part is one of your scheduled tasks is the 5-minute review. So I know I spoke a lot. I want to jump in and show you exactly how it actually works. I'm going to take 1 minute for questions. I see a question. Is this necessary? What do you mean to set up an operating system? So again, you don't have to do it this way. I personally wanted it to. There's a lot of ways to do these different things within AI. You can just use Claude, like Claude Online. You don't have to set it up on your computer the same way that I did. I wanted to do that. So not necessary. So here you can see I have Claude Cowork this is installed on my desktop. This is the desktop version of Claude. What I did is, remember I showed you that Claude file? So you can see here that Claude is connected to this file. So that means that anytime I want to tell Claude something, it searches all of those files. And then it says, let's say I tell Claude, I want to write a proposal. So it's going to search all my files and be like, okay, what kind of proposal do you want? I'm even going to show you. Help me write a proposal. Okay. I didn't practice this before, so I don't know what it's going to say. But my guess is that it's going to say to me like, hey, you have a lot of different proposals. Which ones do you want me to write? Or I need more context because normally I'd pull it from a call. See here, it's saying, what kind of proposal are you writing? Because I have a lot of different proposals. Now, the way that Claude knows that is because I created a document with Claude saying, hey, Claude, I have 4 different kinds of proposals. If someone needs a regular Simpleday implementation, this is what that means. If someone needs an audit, this is what that means. If you want a 4-session consultation, this is what that means. So I gave it this context. And once I created this context document, Claude understands everything. It just needs to search my files and be like, oh yeah, you have 4 different kinds of proposals. Okay, which one do you want? On the one hand, it's like so simple, but it takes a lot to get here. But like the biggest division between people like getting to use AI and not is that they don't apply enough context. Like in the beginning, I would put in a prompt and be like, oh, it didn't tell me anything. It didn't help. This is like a waste of time. But the only reason it wasn't good was because I didn't give enough context. I didn't tell it, hey, this is how I talk. This is my brand guide. This is what I want. Once you give a context, you're in a different place. Number 1, we said is context. Number 2, tools. So I want to show you about the different tools. So if I click on this plus button, you have something called connectors, and I'm just going to click on manage connectors so you can see the different connectors. So these are the connectors that I personally use. Like I connect to Canva. Honestly, I used it today to try and prepare this presentation. I was not impressed. So I'll have to work on that one because I'm probably doing something wrong. I connect to Fathom, Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, the Monday MCP, and Supermail, which is what I use on top of my email. So that means that Claude has access to all of these tools, okay? If I say to Claude, hey, Claude, go write an email to Erica, it can write an email to Erica. It leaves it as drafts. It doesn't send any emails out, but it has access to my email because I want it to work for me. I want it to do things for me. If you want to add new tools, you simply can search for them. More companies are adding MCPs. I do want to just say one note. Monday has an MCP. You can connect to the MCP. You just need to search for it over here. You just click plus. I'll just show you. You can see that there's tons of different kinds of MCPs like, DocuSign, Figma, Notion. You can see all the Expedia. You can see all the different kinds of MCPs. This custom MCP is actually something that we built internally because we felt that the Monday MCP had a hard time connecting with really complicated formula columns, connected board columns, and mirror columns. And that's something that I needed in my daily report because I have really complicated revenue boards and we needed that information. So this is a custom MCP. Just to let you know about the options, you can also have custom MCPs. Okay, so now let's go back. So what I did is I connected all of my tools, okay? Connected my tools. I gave it context about my business, but now I need to go to the 3rd stage, capabilities. What do I actually need this to do? So I actually created a file and it's saved on my computer, but I actually created a file of what I wanted to do for my daily report. Now, For those of you that know Monday, schedule tasks is kind of like automations. Like, what do you want Claude to do on a schedule? So I'm going to share with you this demo daily report because I'm not going to share all my real information. But basically, this is a scheduled report that I want it to run for me on a daily basis. Okay, so you can see here, like, and again, Claude helped me write this. It's saying this is a demonstration, blah, blah, blah. Here's the steps. Go read this file, right? My .md file, which is my Claude file, and then basically pull everything in, all of the different things that I want pulled in. But essentially, I gave Claude a document telling it what I want to do. Go to these columns, go to this board, read my Gmail, do this, do that, and then I get a report. So I can click run now. I'm going to just show you an example of one that I did today. Again, this is just demo data. Like, to get this every day when you wake up in the morning, Claude's like, hey, Tara, good morning. Let's tell you everything going on in your day. Now, this is how I set it up. Here I get a section about all my meetings. Then here it's telling me, okay, there's no back-to-back. Great. Then I get information about all of my important emails. Again, this is all fake information, so don't worry. Subject, why it matters. Then I get information about the task that I need to do today. Then I get information, and this is where I think the really cool part is. It's telling me, like, what's my monthly revenue? Okay, monthly, we're at this. And January, and it's ahead of pace versus April, the same date. January was this amount, February, March, goes through each month, and here it's telling me, like, okay, this is what you're at in May, but you're mid-month. How many leads did I get this month? I can see everything over time. Now, this is how I set it up within the confines of the report. I said that I want to see it this way. You can change it to see it however you want. And here you can see different things that it add. How many contracts did I send? How many new clients? Here's a sample P&L statement that I had to build based on information pulling from the different tools that I'm connected to. Here's who owes us money, which clients need to pay us. And you could see here, open this revenue board if you want to see it. Here's some projects, just giving me percentage, what percent complete, on track, not track, who's working on it. Here's a summary. For me personally, I never check my OKRs. So here's like a sample, Tara, go check your OKRs. Now, there was one other section that I actually deleted in this demo, but another section was have my tasks for today. And then you can actually tell Claude to do things within Monday. Like if you're using the MCP, I can tell Claude, hey, Claude, go update these tasks because I'm not doing them today, or write an update for someone, or create a new board. You can tell Claude to do all of these things. So I simply gave Claude, again, I'm trying not to repeat myself too much, but it's actually like pretty simple steps. I gave Claude context. I connect it to all my tools, and then I talk about the capabilities. What do I want you to do? And I just have these files saved on my computer, and Claude goes in and runs them. And this is how I get my daily report through a scheduled task. Now, if you go to scheduled over here, you can see that I have different tasks that are scheduled every day. So remember I started telling you about, I have this sales responder. I started a little bit. Basically, I have Claude every day go through my emails, find any email that needs a response to a proposal. And like I have a whole set of follow-up emails that are already written, and it adds them as drafts. And I think the coolest part is that it also searches my YouTube channel and it searches my website for a relevant case study, and it puts that in the email. So let's just say someone is in construction and I'm trying to send them a proposal, trying to close them as a client. Claude will write the email being like, hey, Joe, I see that you're interested in the construction setup. Why don't you look at this case study or watch this video? Like, do you know how much time that would take me to have to go through all of my case studies to find the right one to put it in an email? Like this runs every morning. Every single morning, I get a report about how many emails it wrote in draft, how many emails it couldn't for some reason that I needed to update it, do it manually. Then if I need to update it or make a change, I can simply update the skill, which is essentially just telling Claude, hey, you didn't do a good job with this, make sure to do it differently. Another one is that I did this weekly content batch. I don't want to get too much into the different agents that I built, even though they're really cool and I feel like I could talk to them about them forever. But the idea is that you can get a daily brief. Here it's showing up in Claude, and I can ask questions on it because it has access to all of my information. So we basically went through all these steps, how to build an AIOS. Okay, my image is not showing up. If you're interested, I basically just put some ideas of how to name your folders within Claude. It's just like a technical thing about if you want to set up Claude, you can do that. But that's basically it's all about context. That's like my biggest takeaway from this. Like you can use Claude, connect it to your tools, and write context. Now, before we jump into this third option, I want to say that this is something that I'm really, really excited about, and I would love for everyone to sign up for a free trial. This is something that I've been dreaming about for a very long time, and I'm excited to share it with you. I guess this is the first time I'm sharing this publicly, so I'm very excited to share it with you. I basically have partnered with someone named Daniel, who's a developer, and we actually built out something called the Dash. So if you're looking for a much simpler way than either connecting everything to Monday or setting up your whole Claude AIOS or connecting everything to Claude, you have another option, which is called the Dash. If you scan this QR code, you will come to the landing page. If you want, we can also put a link in the description and you sign up. But let me tell you what it is. The Dash is a product that sends you a daily email every single day with everything that you want to see with your company. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy, the same concept. The advantage is that you don't need to build all the backends out for all those other ways that we discussed. So this is just an example of a daily briefing. It gives you like a focus area. It connects to your calendar. It connects to your email. It summarizes your emails. And then if you want, you can connect it to other tools. So, okay, any other questions about anything we discussed? I know it was a lot of information and that's a lot to digest, but I do feel very strongly as a business owner. And like I said, like 95% of the business owners that I speak to have the same requirements that they just feel like I just need a daily report about everything going on in my business. So that's why I really feel passionate about this topic because it's so popular. And that's the story. Any last questions before we end?
Yes, Sarah, there is. Just look in the chat section.
Okay, thanks, Rosa. So I'll read the question. If a company already has dashboards on Monday, what's the main benefit of having an AI-generated report on top of that? So there's a few benefits of having something above Monday. The first is that you could put everything together because if you have a lot of dashboards in Monday, you may need to click on like multiple links or open multiple dashboards. That's one. And number two, if you use an AI report, you can also, or an AI agent on top, you can also then talk to the AI agent. You could say like, okay, now tell me, let's just say I had less leads this month from YouTube. Why did I have less leads this month from YouTube? Or compare YouTube this month versus last month. And you can have a conversation with the AI to try and figure out what's underneath some of the things going on. And it like pulls in more insights and can analyze your information as opposed to just showing it to you. The next question is, for setups with a lot of connected boards, does AI usually understand those relationships automatically, or do you need to help it with extra context and setup? I tested Claude a lot when I first installed it on desktop and even started using Claude regularly. I did not make a map of my Monday account, and I found that Claude had a very hard time understanding everything going on in my Monday account. Now, it could be my account is unique because I have like 10 leads boards, which a lot of them are just for demo purposes. Like most companies would only have one leads board, so it's probably more obvious. But I had very specific columns that I wanted it to see. Like, for example, in my revenue board, I have a column called global fee, and then I have a column called updated revenue. And updated revenue is a formula column. Like I wanted Claude to look at that formula column and pull data from there. So I spent probably 45 minutes with Claude explaining and mapping out my Monday board. I actually made a Monday map with Claude. And I said, when I want to understand what my revenue is, look at this board, look at this column. This is how you need to figure it out. So I definitely think you need the context and you need the maps. In terms of the connected board columns, it's a little bit tricky because like I said, the Monday MCP doesn't always recognize all those columns. That's why we built a custom MCP. If you're interested in testing that out, feel free to be in touch and I would be happy to give you access to test it out. Unfortunately, what Monday built was not powerful enough for what I needed. I think it probably will get there, but right now it wasn't. Connected board columns and formula columns for some reason are like huge blockers within Monday. Okay, see another question. When we connect AI tools like Claude or platform-based AI tools to folders and documents, what should we be careful about regarding data protection, especially when those files contain client or sensitive business information? So I would just make sure that you know what tools you're connecting to and who has access. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't take from a non-trusted source and I wouldn't connect a tool that you don't know. Most tools have privacy policies, terms of use, and all of that. You need to set up guardrails. Honestly, I'm not an expert in AI tool security. So, I can recommend you to someone. I'm not an expert in that area, but I think you need to make sure that you're working with tools that you know about. You need to be careful who you give access to. Can I do a presentation to show how complex organizations use Monday? Potentially, yes, we could discuss that maybe for another webinar. I can tell you that we've set up a lot of really complex setups using Monday, companies that have thousands of employees and do really complex things. So we definitely can potentially think about that for an idea, or we could take it offline. Feel free to reach out for sure. And I just want to reiterate again, I'd love to have you guys sign up for the Dash. I'd love your feedback. Please be in touch and let me know what you guys think. And if you're interested in getting some help seeing how you can connect AI to Monday and build agents on top of Monday and really leverage AI, feel free to book a strategy session with me. We put a link in the chat above. Feel free to book your free AI brainstorming session, and I'm happy to meet with you so we can discuss different ways that you can use AI. One last thing that I forgot, we actually created an AI bot that can scan your Monday accounts and give you ideas for how you can use AI more in your Monday account. So if that's relevant, also happy to run that report for you and just be in touch with me directly. Thank you very much for joining. It was a pleasure being able to share this knowledge with you, and feel free to be in touch for any further questions. You have my email address, and thank you again for joining, and have a great day. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and remember to subscribe to receive tips and tricks on how to use Monday.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.